Here we are. Welcome to what's going to be a series of late night editions of You Can't Do That on Salesforce. I am Tom, and I'll be hanging out with you from 8 to 10, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night throughout the week. And yeah, here we go. So it's Tuesday. It's Inefficient Icon Inventory Day. And we're gonna keep at the batch apex in hopes of making some bigger icons. Figure out, maybe we'll do a little bit of experimenting tonight. Test out this. Last week we ran into this whole thing where we tried to create a ton of, make a giant list of like 250,000 objects and pass that in as an iterable in our start context, and then let that be the data set that we iterated over. And it didn't work really good. It was quite slow and not very effective. And I want to see if it was a fluke or if it is maybe something that you indeed can't do on Salesforce. So we'll get started over there. I'll attempt to find there it is, sneaking behind our VS Code window. Let's go way back. Let's go take a look at the Apex jobs from last week and see what happened here, if they're still there. Yeah, so this was our job. And I think it was more like maybe 65,000 records that we ran through this batch. And just to replay the code that was running, here's our icon pixel batch. The whole point of this was to give this batch a set of records, basically pixels, that we wanted it to iterate over to create the icon at the size that we knew we wanted it. But a batch job can't iterate over nothing. It's got to have something to loop over. And if we were to be able to create those 65,000 records on our own, that would defeat the purpose of needing the batch, aka there was just no way to do that. So my thought was create this batch, use an iterable as the return value from the start method, which kicks off the batch in the first place. Use an iterable of S objects, specifically, create our pixel records. Pixel records comprise an icon record for those who are new. Because we know the width and height of a icon when we first create it, we have to give it those dimensions. So we just loop over the two nested, create a matrix of pixels that have a X and a Y position relative to the width and height, and then return that. Now, like I said, this ends up with a whole bunch of records depending on how big your how big of a icon you want to create. For example, if I say, I think we did 256 by 256 pixels for the icon, so that's 65,000 pixel records in this list. And then basically just had it run through and insert them 200 at a time to see if this was a sneaky way to kind of get around things. Now it ran 328. Let's see, 200 times 328. Yeah, that's 65,000 right there. This was the job from last week. You can see it started at 3:03 p.m., whatever time zone that may be, and it ended at 3:59. So it took almost an hour to run that batch, which is insane. If those were 65,000 existing records, to iterate over them and do something as benign as we'll create records or update them seems kind of shocking to me. Now the only things to consider are we do have a flow that reacts to the creation of pixels, I think. Let's see. Pixel after insert or update, populate color lookup. So there is an action here that says take a look at each of these pixels after it's created or updated. Look for a color record that matches the pixel's color in question, which I think we are setting to the default color of the icon. So there's an extra query that comes in each time, but again, I don't think that's super expensive. In fact, we're not even. I don't know if we're even. Let's see. This only fires if. Let's take a look at our conditions. This only fires if color. Well, if color value is changed, and I believe so. We may want to add one more condition to this to say make sure color value is not null. So maybe there's some efficiency to gain here on this process. I'm almost tempted to deactivate. I'd like to maybe run this twice, right? Run it activated and then deactivated, and let's see if this is somehow interfering with the insert process. Because what I want to get to the bottom of is it these iterables and creating a giant list? It's basically like contributing to the heap size of the collection that's choking the flow, or I'm sorry, choking the batch, or is it some of these flows that are running on the outside that are reacting to the insertion of a pixel record that's making things run slow? So let's deactivate this. We'll delete a ton of data, and then we'll run this thing again to see what happens. So I'm going to deactivate this for now. All right, so that should not run any longer when we query our pixels, or when we insert our pixels. And I want to go back and look at, let's just take a look at company information and see the data that we have in here. This is a scratch org, so there's not a ton of storage space in these. We're getting pretty close, actually. We're 78%. And again, this is, you can't do that on Salesforce. So we're not necessarily doing things the best way, but we're doing them the way that is most interesting for the task at hand. Hence why we have 65,000 pixel records for one 256 by 256 icon. So yeah, we're going to tap out here pretty quick. I don't think we even have enough space to add much more, many more pixels. So that's fine. We'll wipe our icon records, and that should clear things up. The only thing I want to take a look at is just to see if the pixel, I believe the pixel is a child of the icon. Yeah. So we go take a look at our icons. We probably don't have many of them. There's our 256 by 256 icon that certainly has a ton of child records. Now here's the other thing I wanted to check. I'm pretty sure this is potentially choking to death on rendering those 65,000 pixels over here. For example, if we go over to our 96 by 96, not too bad. Right, that rendered, what is that, 4,000 pixels in the component. But when we raise that by more than 10x, let's get our console, our browser console up here, and see if I can be quick about this. How do we do, if I flip over to Mr. 256, what's happening here? Oh, we got a 500 error. Too many query rows. Okay, so perfect. That's something to add to our backlog. Not surprising, right? We're doing a query of many, many icons or many, many pixels for this icon. We're doing that through Apex, and that's breaking our Sokal limit because I got to get 65,000 of them, and well, I just can't get there from here. So we're gonna need to adjust that as well and figure out how can we batch in our icons just as or our pixels just as we were trying to batch in the creation of them. Pause for dramatic effect to take a drink. All right. So good. We're breaking stuff. That is cool. Let's, I think I'm just going to delete all the icons. I'm going to write a quick script to do that over here. I think I have some scripts here. Yeah, hello. That's creating an icon. I don't know why it's called square.apex, but whatever. Let me go over to hello, and we'll just use this for some rando stuff. We want to delete, select ID from icon. So we're going to wipe all the icons, which in turn will wipe all the pixels. And let's see how we do there. I'll be curious, honestly, if this deletes on its own, because that is a whole lot of records to get rid of. We'll see if the master-child gods favor us while we do this. Still cooking. I don't know if you guys can see the bottom. Oops. It wants to save my record or delete my records. See what it actually, how long it actually takes to do this. Just gonna sit and wait. I wonder, can we see it ticking down in company information? Oops, it's not there. I always thought it'd be kind of smart if, like, Salesforce could recognize the cascading delete, and I'm curious what's happening under the hood when this all goes down. If the records are truly being deleted, and is that expensive, or are they just being like flagged for deletion? The child records, I'm saying, if the 6 icons are logically or physically deleted, you could argue that the first thing to do would be to just make the child records like logically deleted as far as the database is concerned in real time, if that's more efficient. and then delete them physically asynchronously down the road. No idea how the platform handles this, but I think we're seeing that the platform is going to do it all in real time and keep our job running. I won't be surprised if this comes back and says it timed out. Unless the interesting question too, right? How does the CPU handled when something like this goes down? Like, it's obviously still running a process here, but maybe based on what I was just describing, maybe the only CPU hit is on the parent records and the children are handled outside of that. We'll see. We'll keep on waiting for a minute. Yep, there we go. So let's see. What did we get out of this? Yeah, we deleted 5 records. That is true. We got rid of 5 icons. And we didn't take any punishment for the... Well, I should say we didn't take any governor limit punishment. We didn't take any governor limit punishment for the child records. It looks like we just deleted 5, or we queried out 5 rows from our query here. We did one DML statement. We deleted 5 records. So the other 65,000 didn't count against this, but it sure did lock up the process that we requested. Now I could probably run other processes around it, and maybe it wouldn't care, but good to know. We may need to. We'll just need to understand that that's going to happen. That's going to happen a bunch of times if we test this out again. So, all right. Bear with me one second. I gotta let the Twitters know that we are online. Batch Apex done bad? I think that's a good tagline for tonight. Let's go with that. Let's see what kind of... It's Dreamforce, so I'm sure everybody's dropping what they're doing at Dreamforce to check out. You can't do that on Salesforce, right? Right. Okay. Let's speaking of doing things bad, let's do this. Let's do this batch Apex bad. This tells me it's not saved. I'm trying to... What did we add to this to make it... Pixels.add. All right, so we have to... Let's save that again. We create a... It's very manual right now, so I'm going to go create another pixel with a whole bunch of records, or with a very large width and height, and then I'm just going to manually drop that in here. That will kick off the batch, and we'll see how fast we run without our flow that responds to pixel creation or insertion processing anything. So let's go back here to our icons. We should have none. We have none. Let's create a new one. I'll go with the same naming convention we had before. 256 by 256 gives us, again, 65,000. I'm going to default the color to black for all of those. As you can see, we have this ridiculous data structure for our colors, just as ridiculous as our icons, because, why not? We should be accounting for every color in the Crayola box when we're doing this stuff. Okay, so saving this should take no time. There we go. Got ourselves a Salesforce ID. Whoops. Now let's flip over to our batch job and summon this. That should kick off pretty quick. So we're queued up. Now let's go over to the Apex jobs and see how this is performing, what kind of pace it's running at. So let's see, we're a few seconds in, we're up to 5. 21. This is running way faster than it did before. So I'll sit back and sing the Jeopardy song while we wait for this. But this begs the question: all right, can we? Is it so? This tells me it's kosher to do what we're doing here inside the batch. Let's refresh and see how we're getting along here. Oh yeah, this is running much faster. Still kind of slow, for, for what we would want to do. It tells me that we're going to need some kind of, please wait processing icon logic, or status in the system. But this is going to finish in a minute compared to last week when it took almost an hour to run. So this begs the question: what's the problem, right? We deactivated our flow. Let's try it again and reactivate it. And if it goes any slower than this, I'll just abort it, because at least we'll know that maybe the flow is the culprit. But in 119. All right, we're cruising. Where are we at? We're 2 minutes in. We're 2 minutes in. We're a third of the way done. 2 minutes in last week was like 1% of the way done. So we'll let that cook. So the experiment suggests this works okay. I thought our performance issue was up in here, right? Creating a ginormous iterable, a list of S objects essentially. 65,000 of these records are created up front in the start command and then returned as the iterable. It sounds so weird to say, iterable. I like words. And then they're just passed into the scope to be inserted, 200 at a go. Hypothetically, I'm trying to think if there would be another way for us to do this. Maybe there's other. What else could we do because we can do 10,000 records at a time. One thing that we could do is create some other kind of object, right? That's like a insert payload object or something like that. And then when those get created, they use a queuable maybe so that my thought there would be like, write a whole bunch of JSON to this, I'll call it like the, I don't know, icon pixel creator object. There's got to be a better word than that. Write a bunch of JSON for what we want it to create, or even just give it instructions to say, hey, I want you to insert 10,000 records from, with these addresses from row 0, column 0 to row 100, column 100, or whatever. That is 10,000. So pat myself on the back. And then insert multiple of those, right? But multiple in that case would be like what? 5. We would insert 5, or I guess 6, 7 of those records. Each one represents up to 10,000 records to be inserted. Queuable on those to say, or batch, queuable or batch to say, hey, go do stuff against these. So that'd be another strategy, right? Create another object that we have something to store what we want to do, even if it's not all of the data. This is a very literal implementation of what we're trying to do. And it works. It's just a little slower. I would be curious if we did it queuable style to say, basically, if a record exists, go process it. At the end of the queuable, does a record exist? Create a new instance of the queuable, go process it, blah, 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 blah. Kind of a self-starting agent through a queuable approach. We could do that. How are we doing over here? Let's see. Hey, we're done. We were done in 4 minutes. Groovy. We gobbled up a whole bunch of records. Our component is obviously gonna explode. Our Lightning Web component can't handle the query that needs to be run. We need to break it up and somehow break it up into logical blocks to say, go get me no more than X per. I could call 50,000 and then I could get the rest. So that might be an approach that we take there. For a moment, I thought, well, maybe we don't even need to query out the pixels because we know the dimensions of the icon, and that's true, but we store the color on each of the pixel records, so we do kind of need that in order to generate the icon that we're looking for. All right, so now I'm going to run that delete job again, clear this all out, and then I want to turn that flow back on. I think we have an inefficiency with that flow because we are creating records that have the color defined, and we really should only be running if the color is not defined and the color value is defined to actually set the right value here. I think. I guess, well, we have to confirm that because perhaps there's another condition where the color value is being used in our component, and we're passing the value instead of the color. I think that may be the case. So we need, what we could do in that case is put some responsibility on the LWC to make sure that if it's passing a color value, that the color field has to be null when it comes in, because I think our flow will be happier if it doesn't need to process every one of these records that's coming in. That's my theory. I think our flow is slowing us down, this one in particular. I don't believe this one is slowing us down because this is only running after update. This is what issues the platform event to tell other people looking at an icon, yo, I'm doing something to it. Yeah, this is only on update. So that isn't our problem. This here looks to say if the color value, see, I think we want to say if the color value is null, false, and, oops, the color is null, true, and then only when a record falls into that condition should we actually process this. I think I got that right. That's still deleting. So in our case, we're not passing a color value. So this will not be true. We are passing a color lookup. So this should never get hit. Let's save a new version of this and then activate it, and let's see what happens in this case. I'm curious if just having to evaluate the flow in this batch context causes any, or results in any performance hits. So I think we're going to find out. We should not be running, we might be evaluating the entry criteria, but going no further at this point because color is not null. Just make sure our logic is right. Color is null. Color is not null. So is null true? That's not going to happen. Color value is null. So that's not going to happen either. So we should be good. And it looks like our icon is gone. So let's refresh and run again. Looks like there was a problem. Yes, we got rid of that record, so there's definitely a problem. Nothing is here, so let's make a new 256. Default color, we'll still make it black. Save that. No automation yet, so we'll bring this over and manually run this. 4 minutes is the time to beat, and 56 minutes is the other time to beat. So hopefully we come in faster, much faster than 56, even if not quite 4, I'll still take it. And let's fire it up. Okay, queued up. Let's go check out our batches. Looks like it hasn't registered yet. Did I get an error here? Did I? I don't think so. I just noticed that the stream is running on my Wi-Fi right now. Maybe that's a little choppy for y'all. Let's see here. 1 second. Unplug. And replug. Hey, there we go. Something's flashing. There we go. Now we got some bandwidth, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe y'all didn't notice. Hopefully you didn't notice. Where did our records go? I thought we... Oop. Uh-oh. I betcha our scratch org just went away. Look at that. We lost our scratch org. All right, well, let's create a new one. Fortunately, I think we've got everything we need to push back into the back in there. That was created default failed to run. Wait, hold on now. Request failed. Connection. Oh wait, you know, now that my all right. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty here. What's going on? Woo! Sorry about that. We're back. Guess we had a little hiccup here in the internet department. see if we're coming back online here. Looks like we are. Okay. Always fun because now there's 2 videos to manage for the stream. But yeah, I don't know really what happened there. I had a little unexpected issue with the internet at my house. All right, we're back. Where were we? We were trying to understand if our batch apex was actually working. Because it looks like it didn't do anything. It's kind of weird. Maybe, did I not, I have a hunch that I did not, I'm not using the right ID for that query. So I just went ahead and, fired up a batch job for nothing. So let's go back to our icons, make sure I actually copied the correct Salesforce ID and put it into my script. Yeah, that does look right, doesn't it? Okay, well, let's run it again. I thought maybe we lost our scratch org for a second. Okay, job's queued up. Let's go back to setup and see if it's actually queued up. There it goes. Okay. So we're up to 18. We started at about 540. Definitely happier now. But I still, man, if the logic that we had in there before was slowing it down to such a crawl that that it took an hour to run the other day, then that seems crazy. So the good news is, I don't think that was the problem, because we're running along a pretty good click here. I don't know if it's going to beat 4 minutes from last time, but it does work. So, man, I still wish I could understand what happened to the stream there. That was weird. But anyway, here we are. Let's let this finish running. So I don't know if we can go much bigger than the 65,000 because we just don't have enough space for records in our scratch org. We could maybe double it, but my take right now is we're probably in decent shape right now. We don't even have an org, so that's the thing, right? With this approach, we're never going to get the size that we, or the scale that we need out of all of this. And we probably won't be installing this in a Salesforce org anytime soon to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and use, 1 million records to store an icon. Although it is kind of a neat little component if we could see, maybe some kind of weird collaborative a la Reddit's, what is it, the Space app that they've built before in the past. Basically kind of sowing the seeds in Salesforce to have built the same thing. Let's see, 227, we're 3 minutes in. Moving a good click. I don't think I think our issue was in our flow and something. Now it's interesting. What were we running? That flow was processing all the records that came in, and then was doing a lookup based on a certain value of those records, finding that, and then processing it. So that was, if that was if it takes 4 minutes to run without that, and it takes basically 15x longer with that inefficient logic, then I think we probably found our issue. So, all right, so hypothetically this works. Does it scale? We don't know. We can't actually scale much more in our Scratch org. I would need to create, maybe a different kind of org to see just how big could we go. Get a demo enterprise org or something like that. I might still do that because I'm just genuinely curious about this approach. Like at what point does creating how big is too big of a list in Apex before you really start kicking and screaming and it just starts falling down. So we'll see if we can discover what that is in another way. But in the meantime, we have a different problem to deal with. Let's let this finish running, I guess. Our other problem now is, well, how do I actually render this this component when it's got more than 50,000 pixels to render? And how might we do that? I don't think there's a mechanism to say, like in the SOAP API, you can say, is there more? Are there more records to get? And because I don't believe there's any way to do that inside of SOQL. Also, I don't know if we can do an offset beyond 50,000 because it has to step through the record. There's something about that. There's something about offsets. Let's take a look. SOQL offset. Oh, hey, look at that. Oh, what is this? This is bulk. Workaround for offset, 2000 limit. Let's see. Maximum offset is 2000 rows. Query more. That's a API call. Yep. Because you can get a query locator back from the SOAP API, but I don't think I can do a query more inside of Apex. Let's see, Apex SOQL offset more than. Nope, that's the REST API. Let's see. Is there something floating around in the guts of Apex database.query that well, we don't want to query all rows included deleted. Working with very large SOQL queries. See, there's query more. So can we... So a query for loop. If the results are too large, this can cause a runtime exception. Use this format if you're not executing DML statements within the for loop. So perhaps we could build, I wonder if it'll let us build with a for loop query. We could try it. That's a pretty quick fix. I'm curious if we can build build our array or our list of records with a SQL query for loop. Start there. I think our job is also done. How did we do on timing here? Yeah, about a minute. I would say that's negligible. For all intents and purposes, the flow may or may not have had any impact based on it being a minute different. So we'll call that good. So let's switch. So now this is going to break, right? And come over here. Let's again open up our browser console. Here we go. I'm going to refresh this page, and it's not going to be happy with trying to query more than 50,000 records to build all the pixels of our component. Here we go. Auto Aura fetch response. 500 error. Too many query rows. Okay. Let's take step 0 and go to our icon service. And, well, actually, wait. We're going to our LWC icon display. We're calling load pixels. So let's try. We'll try doing this over a SOQL. We'll do doing the SOQL over a for loop. So we still need to return the pixels, a whole bunch of them. So let's create an array, a list outside of the loop that will just feed with the results each time. And then we'll do for list pixel pxs, sure, in this. There's our query. How do we make this not look nasty? Drop this down here, drop this down here, and push all this over. Like, yeah, sure, great. So there's the query. So now I can say pixels dot add all. PXS, and then let's return pixels. So that would be the next level of efficiency to potentially act as a query more. Here, right? If the results are too large, let's say we get a whole ton of, in their case, like too many accounts. So we'll use a loop. We're not executing any DML within the for loop. We're just gathering records. So let's see what it thinks about that. Let's see if there's any more here. SOQL for loops. Variable list. Differ because the method they use to retrieve S objects, while standard queries discussed in blah blah can retrieve either the count of a query or a number of records. For loops retrieve all S objects using efficient chunking with calls to the query and query more methods inside of the SOAP API. Developers must always use SOQL for loops to process query results that return many records to avoid the limit on total heap size. Can't do aggregate functions. So yeah, let's, you may get a query if it's aggregate. DML can only do 10,000. We're not going to do that. So maybe we're happy. Let's see what we saved that. That worked. Let's go back over here. We can get rid of this. Do I still have my browser console? Yes, I do. And let's refresh. See what happens. I think the next magic trick is going to be, if this works, like, okay, how does this feel about 65,000 records to process? Now we still got a 500 error. See, we still are querying too many records. It doesn't like that. So, curious. This doesn't really talk about, the limits. For loops retrieve all S objects using efficient chunking with calls to the query and query more methods of the SOAP API. I wonder, it should tell us that we're getting a heap size limit in that case, though, right? If we were having a heap size problem. Let's just call this ourselves. Right? Let's see what we get on our own. That is LWC icon display dot load pixels. And here's our okay, so let's run that. Still hitting our limit, so that is not gonna save the day, unfortunately. Bummer. Bummer, dude. So what should we do next? Well, we can't go over more than 50,000. Let's do a quick. Let's see, Socal for loop 50,000. Right? That's our thing right there. So let's ask the experts. This is we're in the same boat. He's trying to get 9 million account records out. So it's a heap size issue. So I think we have to set up our call to chunk the requests that we want, and we could probably. So I think what we want is some kind of index on the pixels, because it would be a whole lot easier for us to say, we have this map, right? We have X and Y, the latitude and longitude, if you will, of each pixel. But boy, it sure would be easier to say, I'm gonna run my thing. I'm wagging my finger at my code over here. I want to get 5,000 pixels at a time, or whatever, right? And it'd be nice to be able to say, go get pixels where index is greater than 0, greater than equal to 0, and less than 5,000. Run that, bring those back, and then just keep looping every 5,000 until the results come back with nothing. Now, what that implies is that we need another field on our pixel to basically just give each one an address. They've got an X and a Y coordinate, but I just want from here to there, and then my to there is 65,000. But in fact, I don't even care because my component's just going to say, give me 5,000, give me 5,000, give me 5,000, give me 5,000. Let's try that. I think maybe that'll work. Let's go with it. Sure. First things first, we're going to need to trash our our latest icon. So I'm going to fire this up to start doing its thing here. Go ahead and cook, and that's going to get deleted. We're going to go to our setup, and we're going to add a field onto the pixel. And we're going to create, let's just call it index. I think it's going to be a number. It's going to go up to probably something pretty big. So we'll say, we'll make that hypothetical. I'm going to make it an external ID because I think that if this got real big, again, in our imaginary future that doesn't exist, we have more than 300,000 pixels. I may need a mechanism to. I may need an indexed field on this index so that I can query stuff out more efficiently. All right, so let's call it index, and then we'll fill that from, from 0 to whatever with our batch apex. We can put that on the layout. Why not? Let's update our permission set. Come on. This is dumb. I'm simultaneously trying to delete records, and I'm pretty sure it's also trying to create this field, index this field on the records that are heading out the door. So, like, the worst possible time to be adding a new field is when you're deleting a truckload of records that don't belong there anyway. Yeah, okay. Okay, your request is processing. Whew, where did we get to here? Salesforce blew its own mind, I guess. We are back into Classic and have no business doing whatever is being done here. So I think we're back to reality. Let's go let's go to our push mission set so we can our push mission set. Trouble talking. All right, admin. And what did we do? We added that to the pixel. Oops. So by having this index, we'll be able to kind of chunk our queries. We'll have to update our load pixels call so that we can say, what boundaries do we want you to work in. And then we need to update our batch so let's just make let's make an integer, called, say, IDX equals 0. And then every time we do a, make sure I get this right. Here's our index field. And then I want to increment that here. Each time I add something to the pixels list, I'm setting that index. We're going to import or insert these records, and then we'll have an index to work from. The index is the left to right, top to bottom index of that record in our array, regardless of its X and Y coordinates. You know, we've got this so that we can loop until there's nothing more to loop over, and query out records. So let's first try. Gonna work, no problem. I think what we can do, we'll save ourselves a little bit of sanity here, and let's pick an icon size that's a little smaller. Like we could let's go 100 by 100. That will be a lot faster to insert, certainly through the batch. And then we can test this out. So ideally, we would get those records in two chunks of 5,000 apiece. Okay, so first things first. We should have no icons. And we do not, so I'm going to create a new one. We'll do 100 by 100. We could do a rectangle. It doesn't always have to be a square. I still think we could probably do something cool with, like, create just build place, right? Like a la Reddit. Hopefully I'm not breaking any IP rules in doing so. But, we've got all the facilities to do that. We need some refinement. We need to make this thing look a little bit nicer, but all right, I digress. Here is our icon. Oh, montage, read only. Read only. Read only on the Aura enabled, yes? I'm not even looking at the right place. I totally forgot. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Thank you for coming. I'm looking at the SOAP API. That's not going to get us what we want. Let's go back over to Apex Developer Guide. Yes, will that do the thing? Yeah. There it is. That is the jam. Everything I just said for the last 15 minutes and all the updates I made, forget it. Well, kind of forget it. I think we can go up to 1 million. I'm like really overestimating my capabilities here to think that, sure, we'll have some icons that have more than 1 million pixels in them. Maybe, but probably not. So 1 million buys us a ton of time. And let's see, less restrictive against Lightning Platform by increasing the limit. Other limits still apply. The annotation blocks the following operations within the request. Yeah, we're not going to do any of those. Is available for REST and SOAP. Use the annotation, visual force pages. So I guess the question is, can I do this in Aura enabled? Well, let me do that. I wonder, did I just get really excited about something that I can't actually do in my context here? The read-only annotation is available for REST and SOAP and the schedulable interface. to use the read-only. Oh, I feel like I'm deflating right now. Visual Force page controllers can use the read-only. So, all right, can we do Aura enabled read-only? Damn it, it's an idea. Make this. Read-only is useful for enabling records, but it only works in the Visual Forest. There goes my balloon. McMontage, you were spot on. It's just the platform hasn't caught up with your genius around this. Pretty much half of my Aura methods are for data retrieval, as LDS hasn't supported bulk operations. Well, shucks. Okay. Very helpful indeed. I wanted it to work so bad, man. I wanted to go right in here. I wanted to do this. Come right here and do something like, I don't know, like read only equals true, and like that would have been the jam. Cacheable, right? We can do that from here. We just got no read only love. Okay, the index approach remains, and hey, what the heck? We can now have gazillions of pixels in that case too. All right, so back. Let's see. We've got okay. We haven't run this yet. I've got my 100 by 100 icon. I got 0 pixels right now. So let's grab this ID. Manually run our job. And this should queue up the creation of 10,000. Now, technically, 10,000 is a number that we can do in real time. And we had that set up originally over here in the service would get called to, or actually, what do we have, an invocable? I think we had an invocable. Yep. We had an invocable which called the service to create the icons, which we could do in real time, but that has been deactivated because we started dealing with the big numbers. We'll probably come full circle back to this to be able to say, hey, an icon was created. Evaluate how big does it need to be? If it's got to be bigger than 10,000, or really, if we make that more dynamic, if it has to be bigger than the available DML calls that are left in our governor limits in that transaction, do it in real time or don't. And if not do it in real time, then summon the batch to wake up and process against it. But for now, I'm just going to run the batch against the 10,000 because that's already set up and I'm lazy. And we'll get back to the other stuff someday when other things are working. So here comes, this is our code to fire up 10,000 pixels on our icon. And we'll go back over to our Apex job, which should run pretty fast. This is only like, what, 50 batches? Yeah, this should crank pretty good. Meanwhile, as that's cooking, I feel like Julia Child, we'll go back over to load pixels, and I think what we want to do is have 2 integers here, which would be index start and another integer for index end. And I don't really need to do the 4 anymore. We can kind of get back to our more basic return stuff. Now what we want to, so the icon ID is this, and index is greater than or equal to index start, and index is less than, well, let's see, less than or equal to. If I pass it, well, actually, do we even need, I guess, index start, and it would be, what, count? Yeah, we could do this, right? Because index start is going to be, boy, do I even want to do the let's see, pagination's always fun. I feel like I have to relearn it every time I do it. So I'm going to pass, let's see, to go our 10,000, I'm going to pass 0 as the index start. I'm going to pass 5,000 as the as a number of records. So our index end, oops, we're in screaming text now. Your index end equals index start plus record count. So we're going to, or if we want to return 5,000 records starting at 0, then we want from 0 to 4,999. So we want to say less than index end. Okay, and then we're going to order those by the index now, because we, should we order those by the index? Maybe we still want to order them by the y and x, because when they come back to our component, let's see, am I looking at the right thing here? When they come back to our component, we are calling load pixels. And then after load pixels, we build pixel matrix. And that is, so this makes things a little bit more interesting too. I think we're going to get, well, no, we're still going to get the records back in the sequence that we want them. We just have to keep building. You know, we really just need like a do while around this to keep getting our records back and to increment our number, our starting point each time. I think that's what we need. All right, so invalid CRUD. All right, I don't know why it's complaining about that. Okay, so this should get our records back in chunks based on the index field, and let's save that. This immediately breaks my code over, or my reference to this over here. We're going to set, let's let record count, record chunk count, so I can remember what record count means, equal to 5,000. And it's taking a really long time to save, which makes me nervous. And then we'll let index equals 0. Let's do something. We'll load pixels with the parameters that we've now created. So we'll set index start. Equal to IDX, and we'll set record count equal to record chunk. There we go. Okay, so do this while something. We're gonna have a new. Let's see. This is pixels, so we're gonna add to that. So let's create some pixels. All right, and then we'll set some pixels equal to this each time, and let's let result count equal 0, but we'll actually say result count equals some pixels length, and then we'll keep running this while result count is greater than 0, because we will take a hit and say after we're going to run this against 10,000 records, it should go twice, and when we but we are going to have to query one more time to make sure that we get no results back. It shouldn't blow up. It just simply shouldn't have any results, but that will let us know that we're done, officially done. So then I want to add, all right, stupid JavaScript question. How do you add an array? Add array to array. I probably should know this. Extend an existing array with another array. Wow. Yeah, there you go, Stack Overflow. It's down. I want to add all array elements to another array. I don't want to put the array inside the array. I don't want that data structure. I just want all the elements added into it. The easiest way. Blah, blah, blah. Can't look at Stack Overflow. What am I supposed to do? I can't program now. We could just loop over them and push. Using a spread operator. Oh, yeah, okay. We like that best. Let's just do that. Forgot about the spread operator. Okay, so now we're going to say this dot. Just paste that in, and so this dot pixels dot push some pixels. Okay. Do that. Run this. Loop that. Never done an await inside of a loop. That might get interesting. We don't need to call this anymore. We just need to do, hopefully, this. We'll find out. We'll get our debug console up in the browser and see how many times we're calling us. Oh, hold on. We need to do one more thing, right? So our index equals 0 here. I need to increment my index to be what? I think, let's see, 5,000 count, and I want my index, I want to add, I think I want to add the count. Right, idx plus equals result count. So the next time I run this, starting at 5,000, adding 5,000, because that's what it will do inside the code or inside the Apex method, and then return them and give them back to me. Now let's pretend like our last batch gave us like 4,999 records back. I think that's okay because it's just going to ask for that index, and yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, we're going to find out. Hopefully saving. There we go. A little slow. Okay, refresh this. I'm kind of probably going to miss the... I want to put some break points in here so we can observe what's going on. Modules, icon display. Here we go, is our do loop. Something already happened. Possibly something not too happy. So let's take a look over at the console and see if anything blew up here. Cannot read properties of undefined reading push. So what did we... Oh, did we not initialize this .pixels? No, we did not. We should. Empty array. Huzzah. Okay, and go again. I think we have some breakpoints in here now, so hopefully those will stay put. Back to our icon, refresh. Okay, let's see. Record ID, index is 0, record chunk 5,000. Do your thing. Come back with stuff. We got 5,000 back. And we got a whole bunch of pixel records. And our result count was 5,000. Increment our index. Check, check. Push all those pixels onto some pixels. Our result count was 5,000, so we're gonna go again. See how we did. I'm just gonna put the breakpoint back in there. So go back. Here we go. What's our index start? 5,000. We still want 5,000 back. Go get them. And we got them. And another 5,000 records. So that should be our 10,000. So our result count was 5,000. Our last index started at 5,000. We're actually going to add another 5,000. Push all those in there. Our result count was 5,000. So we haven't gotten... We're still getting records back. We know the next query is going to return 0. So we're kind of burning an extra iteration through this to make sure that nothing comes back. At least I think so. So let's see how we do. Fire it up again. Going back through. Go get some pixels. There should be none. That's right. So our result count goes to none. I'm going to preemptively catch a breakpoint down here. No results. Our index was 10,000. We have nothing more to add. We don't have any pixels to push. Hopefully that doesn't blow up this step. And our result count is 0, so we should move on to building the pixel matrix. And we do. So now I'm about to give this component 10,000 records to deal with, which is not insignificant. The browser is going to have work to do, and we'll see how well this performs. So from here, though, pixels should be everything it needs to. Hold on. Should be everything it needs to be. 10,000 records. In the sequence that we need them, because this would essentially have been as they were created, and therefore as they were queried out. So scared of infinite loop. Yeah, me too. I always get a little gun shy because like I can't drop any breakpoints in here when you got to refresh the browser window to get the latest code in the in the cache, but you may end up getting stuck in infinite loop terribleness. So fortunately we didn't get stuck there. But now the next kick is like, how is this going to actually how's this actually going to render? I feel like I'm like just building up the suspense here. I'm going to hit the go button and we'll see what happens. There it goes, and well, something happened. Let's see. What did we get here? I got something weird. Let's take a look at what we ended up with. A whole bunch of we ended up with some rows, but not as many as I would have expected. Well, maybe not. Maybe let's see. Yeah, there's about 100 rows there. Well, why is it all wacky? Why didn't we end up with a square? Because there should now be 100 pixels inside of each of these rows. It looks like that's the case. So why are you looking all funky? Is it just because of the dimensions that we have available to our icon? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe what I'll do is I'll move the component up on the page just to make sure it's got. That rendered kind of weird. If I zoom in on this thing, what happens? I think it's just the dimensions. I'm guessing the dimensions of our icon in this space is like overflowing in funky ways. I did just click a bunch of pixels. Let's edit this page and see if we put this. I'm just going to put the icon up above in the header so it has the full width, and we'll see if that gives it more space to deal with. But I have a feeling that's what's going on, is it just can't. It doesn't have enough space to render for some reason. It's shifting down. It's kind of funky though. I don't quite get it. It may also be some code is wrong. So we can take a look at that as well. Should we? I wonder if we should order. I feel like if we order by X, and you know what? I think I know what's up. I think we have to order by. I think we have to order by index, right? Because what we're getting back is not. May very well not be, because Y and X may not. Does that make sense? Would Y and X potentially not order correctly? Let's order by index here. I don't think we need the other two, but that could be what's throwing us off. But let's also check let's make sure it's got enough room to render the way it needs to. We can put it down here for now. Yeah, definitely doing something weird. And I think the change that I just made is also not what we wanted, because I think it just requeried based on my change to filter on the index, or order by the index. Well, we're looping successfully. We're getting around our 65,000 limit. It definitely takes a hot minute to render into the page. I threw another order by field on here. I'm going to take out index because I don't think that's right. I think we do want it by X and Y. Let's refresh and see if we get better layout. No, we're still getting this weird long tail situation. And it also doesn't feel like we're rendering everything. Or at least maybe the browser isn't rendering everything. Because that's definitely not, I don't think that's 100 pixels wide. I forget, this isn't it's still not a very big icon. We could, I think we could render, again, at the risk of this going to crazy town, I want to render the X and Y of each of these in them, just to see how is it mapping these up. We've got plenty of room here, so let's try that. Let's see, this is pixel, so I think we can say pixel dot actually we want to do Y and X, right? Because we go over Y and then down X. It's going to be hard to see because all of these are black. So not the most efficient way to do this. Oh wait, no, we'll just do a span, not style. All right, so let's try that. Oops. Oh, yeah, what am I doing? Span style equals. It's getting late, folks. Forgetting how to code. Okay, now how do we look? I feel like I'm missing something here. Specifically some words. At least I can see them. So that's X50, Y50. Okay. These are all X. That's weird. 50-50, 50-50. So is this everyone that's 49-49? Yeah. Okay. What are we getting back here? This is super weird. Is it, wait, let me make sure I'm not looping over the wrong. Or rendering the wrong thing here. Oh, yeah, well, that would be part of the problem. Yeah, I did Y and Y. No wonder they're all the same. Let's take a look at the style too, because we do have, well, we could zoom, right? We could zoom in a little bit here. Give the components some space to render these things, because we have some logic that dynamically manages the zoom and therefore the size of the pixel. If this would just hurry up and save. Whew. All right, come on. It's taking a minute. There we go. Sheesh. Let's refresh. Okay, and let's take another look and make sure we're still counting right. Inspect one of these. Let's find the top of the row. So this should be, well, let's go all the way up. Zero, zero, right? 0, 1, right? Over, yeah, because X is left to right, Y is top to bottom. So 0, 1, 0, 2. This looks okay. Let's go down. Just kind of barrel through some of these. $55, 0. So row 55, column 0, row 55, column 1. This looks good. So then why are you doing this creepy thing toward the very end? I just want to take a look and see. Okay, this is row 99, and the one above it is row 98. So what is throwing... What is throwing you off? Let me zoom in. It's a lot of zooming to do. Okay, we're starting to see things now. But why? I'm going to try to zoom one more time. We have tons of space, so it shouldn't really... Perhaps, let's see. This is hard to read. 01, 010, 011, 012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 049. So that's a div inside the div. And then more stuff. So then if I scroll down, let's see. Is something changing here? Because the first number, yeah, something weird happens here somewhere. Hmm. 1, 2, 3, 12, 13, 21, 22, 23, 4. No, it's still counting up the way it should. And looks like it's counting over the way it should. But then something happens here, right? Then we get, it's almost like it's starting over. 0, right? Why do we go back to, we get to 99 and then we start again at 0 for some reason. And then things get kind of weird from there. Okay. We get 2 batches of records back. The first one is records 0 through 5,000, which should really be from 00 to, what, 5049? And then the next batch would be 50 or 510 up to 9999, or however that counts out. So then why aren't we getting... Let me zoom back out now. Yeah, it's just blowing up. Which maybe just to make it a little bit clearer what the output is, we can dumb down this output even further. And are we returning the index? Let's return the index. And just take one look at when we build pixel matrix here. So build pixel matrix does something. Takes our pixels from start to finish. Let pixel equal this dot pixels p. P is our index. suppose I could make this a little bit more robust and look at the pixel and say, or really just for loop the pixels and use their X and Y to populate. And then I don't care what order these come back in. So I can just make sure that we can just make sure that they're filtered and sorted by the index, which is what we really care about. Then when we get here, I have a pile of pixels that I'm gonna loop through. I'll just do a for each, and then we can, let's see, matrix represents the out. Matrix is really the rows, and then is that right? Yeah, matrix represents the rows, and then within each row we have a pixels array that gives us the columns. So we could adjust this so that I want to rule out, like, does it really care about the as long as we have the Y and the X, we can identify what I'm gonna check matrix and say if matrix maybe even just trying to talk myself through this a little bit. Matrix whose rows so if rows was an array of row objects and each row object has an index and each row object is made of pixels, then we could this came out okay before, and yeah, that's where I'm kind of getting at McMontage is to just rifle through and add them that way, right? So just push or set the values as we iterate through. Then we don't have to worry as much about what order they're in. It will correct its order, assuming that we. I'm trying to think. Maybe am I making this too complicated, right? Because I need to be able to loop over the rows. So I want to loop over matrix pixel Y, and then I'm going to loop over matrix pixel X. I need each of those arrays to reference objects within them, so I have something to somewhere to place the pixels, which this was doing, but it seems like, and maybe it has nothing to do with, maybe this is coming back correctly, but I just need to get a better look at the numbers. So all right, let me take one step back here. Just going to, I think let's see, am I getting the index back now? Yeah, okay. So let's do this. Let's take this out. So div key equals, we can still make this be the pixel ID. Oops. And then I just want to write out the index and the and the X and the Y. So we're not putting any styling on this, so this might look kind of nasty, but so if we can make sure that this is otherwise coming out in the right order, then we can, I mean, it should just be rendering then. It's, all right, this is going to get ugly. Okay. So here's the order of them. It's, let's see. 0, 0, 0, 100. That's weird. Oh, wait. Okay. So 0 is at 0, 0. And then are we? Okay. Okay. So we're getting back, because we're sorting by, we're sorting by Y and then X. So that makes sense. This is the row, and then this is the, so the left is the index, the center is the row, and the right is the column. So it's kind of curious that I think I just have my index iterating wrong. Because I would want this is coming back right. I want to go, 0, 1, 2, all the way down to 49, and then I get the next batch back. So if I scroll very far here, kind of trying to find the, like, what the biggest index that came back would be 49.99, which would take me to, so here's what, okay, this is kind of like the last record in our sequence, and then I get 050, 051, so it's continuing from there. Okay. I think I see it. I mean, I see it. I don't quite understand it, but I think I get it. There should be 5,000 records from here up to the start if this is 49.99, but it's curious that it's making it to row 99, the last row. I think, yeah, I think McMontage, I think you're right. If we just say the matrix is, no matter what this comes out as, I can reconcile. If we do, where'd you go? Let's build the matrix and just say, pixels dot. I don't really even care about the, I don't care about that index anymore. I just want So this dot pixels dot for each. Let me look at another for each because I forgot the syntax already. How do I not have one in here? All right, fine. We'll just summon the internet gods. Running a little slow, browser. What are you going to do? Yeah, we just want the index. Not even the index. We just want the element. Oops, where do we go? We're building pixel matrix, so we'll do matrix, and then for each our element, we'll say px. Matrix px y, and then px z or x equals px. I think that'll make comment out this other stuff, and then that's pixel matrix. And then if we go back over to rendering this, so then I've got pixel matrix, each item is row, each item is pixel, each item is pixel ID. Does this look a little more sensical to us now? Because this jump again, where was 99.49, but then I'm expecting another, I would expect this to go to 99.99. I would expect every row to go to 98.99 because that's the, so from 98.0 to 98.99, I think we just have a sorting issue. And yeah, McMontage, I think you're right. If I'm not missing anything, yours was a much simpler approach to the sort. Let's see how we did. Oh, whoops, cannot set properties of undefined. Wait, what's going on? Oh, okay. We may just need to take a. All right, so we need to evaluate if something doesn't exist. Right. And then we can add it, because I think trying to add x and y at the same time, it's like, oh, I don't have a y yet, so that's fine. Let's do this. Boo, 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 boo. So if this is undefined, then matrix is a new array, and then fill it. Okay. That should make it happier. Is that a unique, what, invalid key? Hold on. Where's my invalid key? Icon display. What do we not? Does it not like row index? Okay. I think it's complaining up here. I feel like I'm, let's see. Invalid template iteration for value undefined in icon display. It must be an array or an iterable object. Invalid key in div. So what are you complaining about here? If I'm looping over pixel matrix, I'm calling each one a row. That's an array. That's an array of arrays. And the child array is objects. So I would have expected to be able to just iterate over the, let me take a look at a, let's see, LWC template for item. I thought we could just get, oh, let's, do we have to do the iterator? We might have to do the iterator. Okay. The iterator IT, Well, let's try that reference instead, because I really just need an index on this. So template equals pixel matrix, right? So iterate over that, and then we want, that's the array, and then use the, just the IT reference, right? So it.index should be here. And then if that's our iterator, can we go another level? Because now our iterator IT is IT. Oh, can we nest that? I feel like I'm getting all turned around here late at night, ladies and gentlemen. Um, and I'm gonna have to wrap, and this is like wrapping at such a crummy time. Um, well, let's see. Can I? Does it? Does this become the variable that's referenced? So can I do like it2 here? And then this is it.pixels. Key cannot reference iterator in it. What? Really? Okay, so we need a little bit more data structure here because I'm surprised by this that I can't reference that. Um, it does feel like we need a little bit more. Let's see, invalid template iteration for value undefined. Well, what's undefined about what we've built here? We're looping through, we're checking to see if the pixel, I guess I should check this to make sure it's not missing something, but we're setting, we're creating a empty array for each row, and then we're setting the, whatever index within that array, and now equals the pixels. So, all right, I do have to wrap here because it's getting super late. I want to investigate this a little bit further and come back to next week with a little bit more of a plan, but I think I'm just missing something really obvious here to build this, to build the structure that we want to loop over the rows and the columns. This, to me, should get it all squared away. We may need to sort each of these when we're done, but the fact that it's telling us that stuff is undefined is just kind of weird. So I'm going to close up the stream, take a look at this on my own, do some debugging, and we'll bring it back next week. But the good news is we found a path around our batch apex, or our batch apex works, and we can create a whole lot of pixels with that. And we've found a path around our 50,000 record limit for the LWC to get the pixels that it needs. The performance on the browser side is probably going to get slower and slower as we query more stuff out, but perhaps even just having this, having a little bit more efficiency around building this array. Eventually, it's just going to be a whole lot of stuff that, or a whole lot of DOM that's getting rendered to the, or pushed into the browser that might be a sticking point. But I need to figure out why this isn't working, and then I'll report back with y'all when we talk about inefficient icon inventory next week. So thank you for hanging out, and see you next time.